I'd like to welcome everybody to the May 16th Subdivision Utility Advisory Meeting. Can we have our opening announcements, please?
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available on the counter in the lobby. The Planning Commission's bylaws limit the applicant of a subdivision application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the Commission may extend these times by a majority vote. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone.
Thank you. Could we have roll call?
Yes, sir. Bill Johnson.
Here.
Tony Zimbelman. Bob Duell is absent. Jocelyn Klontz.
Here.
Joshua Blick. Bob Aldrich.
Here.
Don Williams-Bay. Sir, I show 6 members present, 1 absent, and I do not see either of the alternates.
Thank you. Before we start, item number 8, which is a subdivision item 2024-00020, sketch map for Cascaway North, has been deferred for 2 weeks by the applicant. So if there's anybody here to hear that case, we will not hear it today.
And
No.
sir, if I may, we actually have an additional week. There's a skip week. So it's actually to the June 6th meeting. 2 weeks would be the last week of May, and we don't have subdivision that week. It's the following week in June.
Oh, we got a vacation day. All right, item number 2, vacation case 2024-00019.
Yes, good morning. Philip Ziebenbergen with planning staff. Vacation 2419 is a request to vacate a portion of a platted 15-foot street side setback located at 1001 North Robin Road. The purpose of the request is to construct a 32 by 28 foot detached garage. The property is a corner property at Robin and 9th. It's just east of North Tyler Road. It has a platted 30-foot setback along Robin Road and a platted 15-foot setback along West 9th Street. The property is owned single-family residential, and the standard street side zoning setback is also 15 feet, so the platted setback matches the standard setback for single-family residential. Without the platted setback, the applicant would have to obtain a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals, as it is the area that they're looking to reduce is greater than 300 square feet, and administrative adjustments can only go to 50% because they're looking to reduce it down to 5 feet, and 50% would be 7.5 feet. So they would have to normally request a variance had it not been platted. There are no public utilities in the described setback. There's an 8-foot utility easement located along the west property line. As you can see here, they're butting up against the easement, but the easement is not part of the application. Evergy has reviewed the vacation. There's no objection. They do not have any equipment in the setback. They do have overhead primary lines located near the area. The garage will need to maintain proper clearance from the per Evergy service standards. Those can be obtained. We can forward those to the applicant. Cox does not have any objection. They have aerial lines on Evergy's poles. any relocation, which would not be likely, would be at the applicant's expense. There's been no public comment regarding this application. And here's a sketch of the proposed garage location. Something that makes this property unique, as you can see kind of on that and on the aerial, is that the house is at an angle. And so when it comes to squaring up a garage along 9th Street and trying to adhere to setbacks with the angle of the house, doesn't necessarily lend to being able to meet the standard setback. And so it's more visible, as you can see on their sketch, of where the angle of the house is and where the garage is wanting to be located, as to the purpose for the vacation down to 5 feet. City traffic doesn't have any objection, should not have any issues with sight lines, and I can stand for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Seeing none. Any comments from the advisory board members?
Rondi with Evergy, 4025 North Tobin. Our lines are located in that, probably down the center line of that 8-foot easement, because it's 8 foot on the west and 8 foot on the east on this lot. And they just need to maintain proper clearance from those overhead lines.
Anyone else? Seeing none, applicant or agent, please. Please come forward and give us your name and address, please.
Just a moment, the applicant's going to have some translation services as well. So there just might be a little bit of back and forth as we have discussion this morning.
Hello, guys. Ana Lopez with the City of Wichita, here to interpret for the applicant.
Okay. Mi nombre es Hugo Miguel Castillo. Mi dirección es 1001 North Robin Road, aquí en Wichita, Kansas. El código postal es 67212. Soy el dueño de la propiedad por si tienen preguntas.
So the applicant stated his name and his address, and he stands for questions. He is the owner of the property in question.
Any questions of the applicant? Bob?
Sir, do you agree to the staff recommendations and comments that were listed?
¿Tú estás de acuerdo con las recomendaciones que están en el reporte que te dio él? Estas son las recomendaciones. Básicamente tú tienes que hacer todo esto para poder hacer las cosas en tu propiedad. ¿Estás de acuerdo? Yes, he agrees.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone else present in the commission chambers that wants to speak on this item? Anybody else? If not, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve per staff comments.
Got a motion by Mr. Williams Bay, second by Mr. Zimmelman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Next item. Item vacation case 2024-00022.
Yes, good morning again, Philip Zevenbergen for the record. Vacation 22 is a vacation of a portion of a platted 50-foot setback along East Central. If this is sounding familiar, it should, because it's across the street from one we heard maybe about a month ago. This property is located at 507 North Armour Drive. The one we recently heard was at 508 North Armour Drive, just across the street. The applicant is looking to vacate the north 24 feet of the south 36.5 feet of the east 36 feet of the west 53 feet of the 50-foot platted setback on Lot 7. Block F, the Woodlawn Village First Edition. The purpose is to construct a detached garage. This is coming a pretty standard practice along East Central in this half mile near Woodlawn. The property is zoned single-family residential. This is technically a front setback based on the geometry of the lot, where narrow is technically front. And that would normally be a 25-foot setback. It makes sense that's a larger platted setback to protect the houses from the traffic volumes and noise and other things along East Central. Obviously, they're doing a detached garage, and that's not basically treating it as a street side setback. There's been 4 other properties in the last while that's indicated in your staff report that have done the very same thing for detached garages as well. Same thing as the other ones, there's a utility easement along the rear property line that is not part of the vacation request. And the sewer easement, as well as any other franchise utilities that may be on the easement, are not part of the request. Evergy has comments regarding standard separation, much like the last one, where there's service standards that will provide to the applicant so that as they're constructing the garage, they can maintain proper clearance. Traffic engineering has a comment as been stated on this one of requiring a dedication of access control along East Central in order to prevent any drives from being built. They plan to access through their driveway and their garages here. Just again, much like all the rest of them that have been going through. I will be discussing with the applicant that because it's a front setback, technically it's a accessory structure in front of a primary structure, and we'll work through an administrative adjustment that will go concurrently with this in order to allow that structure on the south side of the property. I've not heard any public comments regarding this, and I can stand for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Thank you, Philip. Any comments from the advisory board members?
Rondi with Evergy, 4025 North Tobin. We again are in the 8-foot easement that, or the easement that runs along the west side of their lot, and then the 8-foot, I believe, on the other lot to the next of it. And they just need to maintain proper clearance from their garage from our lines.
Anybody else? Applicant or agent? Applicant or agent?
I would not be putting a new approach in because I have a side load garage there, so I use the same driveway that's there.
Could you,
And-
sir, could you give us your name and address?
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry. James M. Hedden, 507 North Armor. And like I said, I'm using the same driveway and I'm not putting a new approach in. The neighbor across the street just had his done. And there's 2 blocks to the south of me that's been done in the last 2 years, and 2 blocks to the west of me, there's been 2 of them done, so. And I've been there since 1995. I didn't know I could do this. I'm sorry, one of my hearing aids went out, so I didn't know, somebody said something, and then what was their comment?
It was Evergy talking about clearance of the power lines.
Oh, I don't think there's any power lines in the area. If there is, it's the back.
Yes, there is on the back of your lot.
The back of the lot?
There's a
I'm not-
primary
I'm
line that
not
runs
that-
up behind
Okay,
your
I'm not that close to them.
Okay, you just have to maintain proper clearance from National Electric Code standards that we have in our service standards.
Okay. Have to get what now?
You need to maintain proper clearance based on this, our service standards that are located. You can either go online to our website and type in ss.evergy.com and it'll come up with our service standards. And then go to the exhibits that are shown, and one of them will be, I believe it's service standards building to, proper clearance from building to building.
Okay, you're Evergy?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to have,
Basically, it has to do with how close it is to lines and how much distance it is from the top of your roof to the power lines.
okay, I didn't hear where I have to go. I'll just have to call Evergy and find out, I guess. That's,
Do you agree with all the staff comments?
what?
Do you agree with all staff comments?
All the staff, what?
Comments?
I guess, I don't know.
The staff comments are that I'll work with you on a document that will prohibit a drive going on Central. You're not planning to build a drive
Oh,
on Central
no,
anyway.
no,
so-
I've got a concrete fence put across there. I'm not going through my concrete fence.
That's the staff comment, so if you're in agreement with that.
Yeah,
we can-
I am, sure. Yes, I'm not putting
Okay,
up,
thank you. Any questions, applicant?
I'm sorry, my
That's
hearing.
okay.
Seeing none, thank you, sir.
No
All right.
questions are good. Thank
Is there anybody present wants to speak on this item? Anybody present? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
You just have to maintain
Motion to approve.
the building and lines in the back.
Got a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion?
I don't think it'll be a problem.
All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, that passes. So our next item is, vacation case 2024-00024.
Again, Philip Zevenbergen for the record. Vacation 2424 is a vacation of a platted floodway or a portion of a platted floodway on Lot 14, Block 3 of the Wilson Farms addition. This is located within a quarter mile south of East 21st Street and within a quarter mile east of North Rock Road at 1907 North Red Brush Street. The applicant is requesting this in order to construct an in-ground pool. Let me see what we got here. This is the applicant's exhibit, the survey of the property. This is all of Lot 14, and you can see the back majority of the property is a platted floodway. They are looking to vacate just this portion of that floodway in order to build the pool. Prior to submitting the application, they have already worked with FEMA regarding getting their permit for any type of fill or change within this area. There is floodplain on the property, as you can see here. The pink is the actual floodway. The blue is the floodplain. This is a whole property, so they're looking at this area down here in the AE portion. And they've already done the work with FEMA regarding permitting and things like that. They just have to come through and actually vacate the floodway, which does not allow any change of grade or fill or any type of that in order to do this pool. Wichita Stormwater does not have any objection to this vacation. Again, they provided a signed letter from the Kansas Department of Agriculture indicating that the state fill permit has been approved with conditions that they have to adhere to during construction. Cox or Evergy do not have any objection. They don't have any lines in the vacation area. I've not heard any public comments regarding this, and I can stand for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Thank you, Philip. Advisory board members, any comments?
Rondi with Evergy, no additional.
Applicant or agent?
Morning, Brett Hines, 1907 North Red Brush Street.
Or you agree with all the staff comments?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Guess not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else here in the chamber would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Zimmelman, second by John Williams Bay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? That passes. Next item is vacation case 2024-00025.
Again, Philip Zevenbergen for the record. Vacation 2425 is a request to vacate a portion of a platted 30-foot setback. They're looking to vacate the northeasterly 10 feet, which would reduce the setback down to 20. The purpose of the vacation is in order to build a detached garage or accessory structure. The property is located at 355 South Windrose Lake Drive. This is located 1 block south of West Maple and within 1/4 mile west of South 151st Street West. The property is zoned single-family residential. When it was platted as part of the Miles West Wind Lakes Estates addition in 1968, it was actually in the county. It's been, obviously been annexed into the city. It is single-family residential. It was platted with a 30-foot setback. All the properties within the addition were platted with 30-foot setbacks, and the houses were built to those standards. As you can see on the aerial here, the property in question is unique compared to surrounding neighbors in that is a triangular shape which minimizes the buildable area on the property when considering the setbacks, as well as there's 8 feet of the 16-foot easement along the north property line that would not allow any construction. Prior to filing the application, the applicant and I worked and contacted specifically AT&T, as AT&T has reached out to the department regarding their efforts to bring fiber into the Wichita area, and AT&T essentially said at that time that they would not be supporting any vacation of the easement. And so the applicant was looking to have it farther back on the property, but with the easement vacation not being an option, or not wanting necessarily to propose that and have a contentious situation with AT&T, potentially not get the easement vacation, they look to shift the building forward, which causes it to go into the setback by up to 10 feet. If this was not platted, the standard setback in SF5 is 25 feet for the front. Again, a zoning setback can be reduced administratively up to 20%, which gets you down to 20. And that would have been done, it could have been done administratively. So requesting a reduction down to 20 feet isn't necessarily unreasonable. A 30-foot setback is greater than the standard zoning setback in the area. There have been no other setback vacations in the neighborhood. Public Works, Fire, Wichita Traffic Engineering, and Stormwater do not object to the setback. Kansas Gas, AT&T, and Cox do not object to the reduction so long as the easement in the rear of the property line remains intact. Evergy has no objection. They have underground equipment and lines that service the applicant's home and the neighbor to the south's home at 351 in the right-of-way along Southwind Rose Lake Drive. So again, the right-of-way is this side of the property line. And the only potential issue is that the applicant's service line that feeds 350 Southwind Rose Lake Drive is fed from across the street at 338 Southwind Rose Lake Drive, boring under the road to the north. The applicant needs to make sure that the new structure will not be built on top of these lines, and they can verify this with when locates are done. The MAPC staff report will have contact information for Evergy, and that will be forwarded on to the applicant so that he can work with Evergy on the location of those service lines, should this be approved. If any relocation of those lines need to be done, it would be at the applicant's expense. There's been quite a bit of public comment regarding this. There's a packet on your desk with letters that I have received from neighboring property owners in the vicinity, and I believe there will be several of them wishing to speak with you this morning. I just wanted to provide some clarification of how vacation items are a little bit different than zoning items. For the 7 of you that are on Planning Commission, zoning items, as you know, after Planning Commission have a 2-week protest period for which neighboring property owners can file protests against an application in order to possibly have City Council have a different type of vote regarding this. The way the state statute is written for vacation items is essentially subdivision, which you guys give a recommendation to Planning Commission. There are 3 findings at Planning Commission that essentially, if they were to approve it, they're finding that these things exist. The first one is that due legal notice was provided, and we provided due legal notice into the Wichita Eagle on May 2nd. So that's just kind of a standard objective finding that due and proper notice was filed. The second one is the one in particular that you need to be aware of, and that when looking at making a recommendation of approval or denial, the second finding is whether or not any private rights would be injured or endangered by the vacation of a described setback, and whether or not the public will suffer loss or inconvenience if it is approved. So as you're considering public comment today, essentially the opportunity for protest, if you will, would be at today's hearing as well as Planning Commission next week. And even though today is just a recommendation, your recommendation is what also moves forward to Planning Commission for their consideration as well. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as you consider the public comment and the merits of this application, that after planning commission, there's really no recourse for property owners like there would be for zoning cases, because there's no official opportunity to file protests. The protests essentially happen at the public hearing. So with that, I can stand for any questions you have for staff.
Any questions of staff? Mr. Zimmelman.
One of the letters that was in our packet suggests that there may be another spot for this garage on this lot. Have you talked this over with the owner? Is this the only possible way he can do this?
I have not really gone into that detail because really, essentially our job isn't really going to design it, because we could also discuss whether or not it needs to be the size that it is, and really they're asking for something that they desire at the location that they desire, that in their mind would be the most convenient and opportune for them to possibly utilize their property the way in which they would like to. But I guess you can ask that question of the applicant.
Any other questions, staff? Seeing none, thanks, Philip. Advisory board members, any comments?
Rondi with Evergy, 4025 North Tobin. That line comes across the street from 338 and it bores under the road, so you obviously can't see it. We just want to make sure the structure's not built on top of it, because should the line fail, we would have to dig up under your structure, and we wouldn't want to have to do that, just so that we have proper clearance to maintain the line for you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, applicant or agent?
Hi, I'm Jason Bedian. I live at 355 Windrose Lake. I'm the applicant.
Your name and address again?
Jason Bedian, 355 Windrose Lake Drive.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. It looks like from that photo, it looks like a RV or camper that's on that one side. Is that what you're building that for?
I don't believe that would fit in it. We're just looking to get the vehicles inside, like a woodworking shop.
Okay.
Just provide more.
Kind of a standard garage instead of an RV garage or something
Right,
like that,
right.
height-wise. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Aldridge.
Sir, are you part of an HOA?
That would be kind of a question. I have a question regarding that as well. We have had 2 meetings in the last 10 years, one being 9 years ago, and one being last fall. Regarding when we first moved in, we requested the meeting notes as per the HOA guidelines. They were not able to produce them. They haven't been a legally operating entity up until last October. So that's
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a covenant or anything like that. Anything that basically would state that this wouldn't be allowed in the covenant. If there's not one, I'm just.
As far as the covenant goes, I believe the only thing that is listed in there is it lists a architectural committee. Besides that, I don't believe there's anything I'm asking for that encroaches any rules or.
And I'm guessing there is no committee, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of that? Mr. Zimmel.
Could you describe this building structure? Is it going to be like a typical garage? Is it a pole barn? Is it a metal building? What are you planning on?
I don't actually have that exact. We were looking at both a pole barn and steel structure. I also have a couple of quotes for stick built. We're still looking at the exact design. I'm leaning towards steel or pole barn style. Excuse me.
Any other questions?
I noticed on one of the photos, it shows that it's not completely square. Is that just a rendering, or is it going to be a squared off building?
It'd be a squared off building. It was just kind of a quick drawn deal. It was hard to get any basis for the drawing because nothing on my lot is square. The house isn't even square on the property, so that's part of why asking for the vacation is because I cannot put the garage even with the back setback, even with the house. It's kind of on a weird spot.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else present wanting to speak on this item? Please come forward and give us your name and address, please.
I'm short. Maybe I should go to the side. 340 Windrose Road Lake Drive, Jessica Tayton, across the street from Mr.
What was your name?
Biden, Jessica Tayton.
Okay.
So former HOA secretary, they have paid their dues up until 2 years ago. So they've not acknowledged the HOA exists. They did request supporting documentations at one point, and I did offer for them to come over to my house where the boxes are in my basement, and they did not come over and view those documents. So the HOA exists. We have new board members now, and surely they would like to come up and say something to that regard. Mr. Obedient and his wife had said that they just don't acknowledge the HOA. We have been up and running and operating. We do have covenants. We do have the architecture committee. We have other residents in the neighborhood who have come to us to get approval for other structures as well. His neighbor, and then there's a couple of people across the street who have built structures, and we are okay with those as long as they conform to the aesthetics and the uniformity of the neighborhood. In addition, you know, the request that he's making is in the front of the face of his house. When we come around that corner, the first thing that we're going to see is something that does not match the uniformity of the neighborhood. It's going to be either a pole barn or a steel building, which if he wants to build that on the back side of his house or where it doesn't encroach on the front face of his house, we are open to those kinds of things. I live directly across the street from him, and what I don't want to see is something that could devalue my property. And a building that comes in the front of the face of the house, when I open my front door, that to me devalues my property. I'm no longer looking at green space. I'm no longer looking at a beautiful lot in front of me. I am looking at a structure at that point. Again, if they want to look at another area on their property build, happy to consider that. And to that same regard, they have made it very clear that they would not go through the HOA for approval aesthetic-wise.
Mr. Aldridge?
You say you do have covenants?
We do have covenants.
Is there anything in the covenant that would forbid this from being built?
It has to be reviewed by the architectural committee. So yes, there could be covenants that could suggest that we wouldn't approve this. But it would be based off the architectural committee, which is a part of the HOA and the board.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the speaker? Thank you. Anybody else here to speak on this item? Please come forward, give us your name and address, please. Got 3 minutes.
Good morning, William Moore, 352 Windrose Lake. In regards to this, I appreciate as a homeowner, your willingness to work with us if we need to move something, to make adjustments, to make our properties more important to us and useful. When I bought my lot 20 some years ago, I looked at that and I said, okay, the neighborhood has an aesthetic. I have a way to expand. I would never have considered that property because of the future limitations on it. Now, I want to point out something, having lived there all these years. If you come in to Windrose Lake on the north and come around that corner, we've had several accidents there, one of them involving a school bus, because that is a very blind corner at that point going either way. So if someone's not on their side of the street going a slow speed limit, there is a problem. I do have a problem with the building there, as was mentioned, because it does not meet the aesthetics of the rest of the neighborhood. And it is going to infringe on the view coming either way with family walking their pets, their children, let alone the vehicles. The other thing we're going to face in years to come, unbeknownst to us, trees were planted very close to the road in that corner. They're going to, as they grow, affect the traffic. Now we have a building that's going to affect the traffic. And I think most of us in the neighborhood would say, we're sorry, but we don't want a garage on the street. It's not it's a residential area, not a commercial area, and we want to keep that aesthetics. Thank you. Any questions of me?
Any questions of the speaker?
Yes.
Yes.
Jen, so it appears from ground level that there's a fence that runs to the west.
Yes.
Does that affect the vision?
Not really, but if you build something further to the southeast, then you're going to cut some of the corner off.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else present here want to speak on this item? Seeing none, the applicant can come back for 2 minutes of rebuttal.
With regard to structures in the neighborhood, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 detached garages and 4 accessory structures that have had permits pulled and built since 2000. The building.
Use a mouse and
I'm sorry.
it's being recorded.
And as far as the type of aesthetics to the neighborhood, I'm proposing a 30 by 40 pole barn or some type of, I'm now down on the outside. It would be identical to the structure, not more than 20 feet away from it. When talking about the right of way, this is considered a street, not a corner. But like was pointed out, the building is not going to be anywhere near even the fence or anywhere near this part of the street. I'm looking at building right here. And only the corner of this is going to be affected by the vacations, by the vacation. I do not see how the building could infringe on sight lines or on whatever else. I have planted a couple of trees right along this road here. The tree that is pictured right here is gone now, and I simply planted a tree right in line with this street in the original hole coming down here. So I haven't really changed any ergonomics or anything. I just replaced on this tree with a fruit tree and a couple others.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Blake.
Seeing that there's some additional information from your HOA, would you have a problem with deferring this case so you can get with your engineering board, HOA, to check out covenants and see if you can work something out with them?
To do?
For like the architectural structure and all that?
I would be open to it, but several of the structures that I built in the past several years, there's been a email sent to the president saying I'm going to build a garage. If there's been quite a bit of back and forth and committee in the past 10 years, I would really like to see the correspondence. I really don't think that such exists.
Mr. Aldridge.
Sir, if we approve this, do you agree with staff recommendations and comments that have been listed?
Yes.
And would you, not saying you have to, but I didn't know if you talk about planting some trees, maybe it may not be a bad idea to plant a couple of more to help possible screening.
Plant some more for screening?
Yeah, I'm just suggesting that
We'd be
out
open
there.
to that.
It's got no bearing. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, we're in the middle of a landscaping project on the other side of the yard, and we're redoing the whole pool area stuff as we speak, and we're all about improving and making our property look nicer.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Mr. Zimmelman.
I have a question for,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh. I have a question for staff, or do you want me to wait till it's them, or?
Mr. Williams-Bee, did you have?
Yeah, did you get approval from the homeowners association to plant the trees, or was that required?
I checked with this, I don't know his title, one of the city managers or the property for parks, when it comes to planting trees along the street. He did not want evergreens planted, but besides that species, he didn't have a problem with any other tree.
But you didn't speak with the homeowners association?
No.
Is that required?
Not to my knowledge. For planting a single tree?
Mass planting of anything. You did 5 trees.
It's closed to you guys. It's gonna come back to the commission. Mr. Zimmelman?
Okay, if we approve this and then their architectural control committee says you're not ever gonna build this, what situation are we in?
You know, I got to be real careful because I haven't seen any of these documents, and I'm not going to speculate or provide legal opinion to the public, okay? If there is a covenant that's of record, that would take precedent over a decision, generally speaking. I just don't know what those are at this time, so.
Jeff, I'm going to look to you, but I would add to that covenants are a private matter, and this is a civic matter that we're discussing today.
That's right. That's, if there's a dispute, it would be between these parties and their own attorneys and going to court kind of a thing. But as far as what we're doing here today, we're saying whether it can reduce the setback, not whether it can be built or not. That's still yet another question.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve for staff recommendations and comments.
Got a motion approved by Mr. Aldridge, second by Mr. Blick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Mr. Zimmelman and Williams-Bee voted against it. Next item's, item number 6, subdivision 2024 00016.
Good morning, Greg Sharon, planning staff, here to present the Sage Estates edition. It is zoned RR rural residential. This is the aerial photography. This is the preliminary plat, and then the final plat in front of you. This is a one-step final plat for 8-lot residential subdivision located in the county. There will be one waiver that will be needed, and that is from lot depth to width ratio for lot 1, block A. I go through staff comments. Item A, MABCD requires test for sanitary sewer. Item B, the site is located within rural water district number 5. If feasible, connection is recommended. Item C, county stormwater management advises the applicant needs to submit a drainage plan for review. Okay, item D, County Public Works requests 40-foot right-of-way dedication from center line of gravel connection between 103rd Street South and 247th Street West. Item E, access controls are shown along 103rd Street South with 3 40-foot openings, and along South 247th Street West with 1 40-foot opening. and all lots are shown to be accessed via access easement. County Public Works does not approve of the access controls as shown. County Public Works advises that Service Drive will be eliminated to 3 dwellings. The area of plat will not be eligible for a future subdivision based on current layout. Item H, standard county fire department comment, and county fire states lot 7 and 8 need utilities separate from drivable surfaces to comply with the 2018 fire code. Item V, the subdivision is not served by Evergy and no transmissions in the area. Item W, Sedgwick County Electric Co-op will not need to request additional easements at this time, or will need to request additional easements at the time, and those have been forwarded to the agent. So I'll stand for questions.
Any questions of staff? Thank you. Any comments from the advisory board members?
I just got an update from our stormwater engineer. He has reviewed the drainage plan and has approved it, subject to 2 conditions, and that including a drainage easement along the south lot lines of 3 through 8. It's currently just utility easement.
Anybody else? Seeing none, applicant or agent?
Good morning. I'm Bill Fox with Garber Surveying Service representing the applicant, and we have no objection with the staff comments.
Including the one that was just mentioned about the drainage.
Pardon?
Also the comment by the drainage report.
Yeah, I'm sure we can add an easement across the backside of those lots. We're fine with that.
Any questions, Mr. Aldridge?
Yep, Mr. Fox, would it be feasible to reach out to the Water District 5, or would that just the distance, or have you checked with them to see whether or not there is water available?
During the survey, I'm not certain, but I think water is in that east-west street on the north side of the subdivision. So I think rural water is available here.
Okay, so the odds are that it probably wind up connection to that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else in the commission chambers wishing to speak on this item? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make recommendations that we approve based on staff recommendations and comments.
Got a motion by Mr. Aldridge, second by Mr. Blick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed?
For clarification, does the motion include language regarding the waivers?
Yes.
Yes and yes. Next item is number 7. Subdivision case 2024-00017.
Morning, Greg Sharon, planning staff, presenting subdivision 24-17, Thompson Lake Estates Edition. It's located in the county. This is a one-step final plat for a 5-lot residential subdivision in the county zoned RR residential. This is the aerial photography. This is the preliminary plat. And this is the final plat. Go through staff comments. Item A, sewer and water not available. MABCD notes tests need to be for on-site sewage and water wells. County B, stormwater management requires a drainage plan and require for lots 2 and 4 shall require minimum pad elevation established since it is adjacent to a FEMA floodplain. Item E, complete access controls are shown along South 263rd Street West with 2 openings, and all lots shown to be accessed via joint access easements. County Public Works approves of the access easements, openings, and right-of-way dedications. Item G, standard county fire department comment regarding service drives. And item V, subdivision is not served by Evergy and no transmission. And item W, Sedgwick County Electric Co-op will not to request additional easements at this time.
Any questions of staff? Thank you. Advisory board members, any comments?
Daniel Schramm with Sedgwick County Public Works. We have received a drainage plan on this one. There are a few comments. I won't go over all of them, but generally I think they will be able to be achieved. Once those revisions are made, the drainage plan will be approved.
Anybody else? Seeing none, applicant or agent?
Bill Fox, Garber Surveying, 544 West Douglas, Wichita, 67203. We're in agreement with staff comments, and we'll work with county stormwater on drainage comments, but I'm sure we can work them out.
Any questions of the agent? Thank you. Anyone else present in the commission chambers wanting to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
We've got a motion by John Williams Bay, second by Mr. Blick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Passes 6-0. Since we won't hear item 8, we'll go to 9, which is subdivision 2024-00021.
Good morning, Greg Sharon, planning staff. Start out by apologizing for some of the incompleteness of the next two staff reports, given that the system went down. There were some trouble getting comments back and forth just because the email system went down. And as you can see, the vicinity map was not included just because the system was down and those were unable to be prepared at that time. So I will do my best to go through the comments that we have received after the staff report had been prepared and sent out. This is the Ballman 5th edition. This is a one-step plat for 89 lot subdivision within the city of Wichita and then associated with PUD 24-8, zone change from 2F3 two-family residential to 2 PUD. Go through the waivers. This is the aerial photography. And first waiver, subdivision regulars state that when a subdivision is adjacent to unplatted property, platting of stub streets to provide future access to adjacent unplatted tracts shall be provided. The stub streets are intended to provide public access to adjacent property, providing connectivity between neighborhoods and reducing traffic in and out of subdivisions from main roadways. The proposed subdivision indicates fire apparatus access roads to the unplatted property connection to adjacent property and does not provide the public access as stated and intended in subdivision regulations. Therefore, a modification waiver will be needed to provide future access to adjacent property. Go through staff comments. Item A, Utilities Department requires all lots extend water and sanitary sewer. Requests 15-foot utility easements and a couple of 20-foot utility easements are requested. Item D, City Stormwater Management advises applicant needs to submit a drainage plan. Item E, County Stormwater requested drainage plan. Item G, fire request proper hydrant location and protection for apparatus access roads. Item H, the City Fire Department requires for developments of 1 or 2 family dwellings where number of dwelling units exceed 30 shall provide 2 separate and approved fire apparatus access roads when the city fire requires two access roads, they should be placed a distance following D 107.2. And I had got a comment that wasn't included in your staff report that per that comment that the fire department does not approve of the plat. And I will let city fire speak to that issue if you have questions regarding that. Item I, complete access controls with two 32-foot fire apparatus road openings and one 60-foot opening are indicated along South Maze Road. I did get comment from city traffic that the city agrees with the county on access controls openings and the need for a left turn auxiliary lane. And the County Public Works approves of the access controls, and County Public Works requests a left turn onto Maze Road. And item J, County Public Works requests a removal of Reserve E and extension of Crestline Street to the south. Item L, GIS still needs to approve of the street names. Item N, they did provide a contingent dead right-of-way temporary cul-de-sac to the south. Item N noted that that was not provided, but it actually is provided. So I wanted to make that clarification that it is shown on the plan right there. There is the turnaround, temporary cul-de-sac turnaround. Item T, note shall be added that staff notes that the proposed PUD allows for future lot splits to occur without going through the formal lot split process. Item U, standard environmental health comment regarding wells installed and permitted. And item F, Evergy has reviewed the plat and will not need to request additional easements at this time. And I'll stand for questions.
Any question, Mr. Aldridge?
Yes, sir, we received a revised sketch plat. Did you also get that too?
A revised sketch plat or revised? Oh, I did not receive that. So I will let the agent clarify the revision.
Okay, it looks like some of there was changes that were made from the original plat that were received. So my questions are, once you review that, would that change any of your comments, or would that any of your comments need to be revised and including fire to see where they would sit on this, since there appears to be a change on it?
Okay. Like I said, I haven't reviewed that, but I will let the agent come up and describe what changes have been made, and then we could talk through those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, staff? Advisory board members, any comments?
Rondi with Evergy, 4025 North Tobin. We do not need additional easements. We do have streetlight placement that needs the city traffic engineer to approve. Heidi Bryan will be the subdivision rep for this, and her information is available.
Joe Hickle, City Stormwater. Item D, drainage plan was submitted yesterday and review is pending. I expect conclusion before your meeting next week.
Sedgwick County, this is Daniel Schrant. We have also received the drainage plan. It has not been reviewed.
Any other comments from the advisory board members? Seeing none, applicant or agent? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I've got one question.
That was what was approved last year. Oh, okay. Great.
I've got one question.
I didn't see he had a question.
City of Wichita Water Department. Hey, could you go over that comment about lot splits again? I just caught the tail end of it.
The one from Yeah, and I was told by Philip about the PUD, this was in the PUD, about the PUD allows for future lot splits to occur without going through the formal lot split process. And I agree. I think that there was some, and legal might be able to provide some clarification on that or how that came about, or Philip is here, so he might be able to further expand on that PUD requirement about lot splits.
Okay. Sorry, Scott Wadle, Planning Director. This one's a little bit unique if it is in that location with PUD. Recently, we've seen, and this goes back probably a couple of years, we've seen some properties where there are duplexes that are anticipated coming through for zoning changes to have custom zoning, so therefore a PUD. As part of the PUD, they're putting in a reference that that lot splits would not be required if a property was going to be split into two. This is pretty unique. We've seen it approved with a couple of PUDs, and then on the plat, they put a reference to the PUD to kind of tighten things up, so that then therefore it's an enforceable part of the plat as well. So I'm going to defer to Philip and the applicant to provide additional information on that.
No. Sorry about that, I just am now up to speed. So in the PUD, there's a condition in there that essentially says that they still need legal descriptions by a licensed surveyor to submit to the Register of Deeds, which documents the boundaries of the new parcels. That's essentially what's part of the submission to staff when it comes to lot splits as well. In practice, this has already been done. This particular developer this is the 4th PUD. We recently looked at one, as well as the plat that you guys looked at for the Falcon Falls East Edition. In practice, it is actually have been constructed up on North Meridian, just north of 53rd Street, where there is a platted lot, and they came back and split the lot, and they built 2 single-family homes on the separate parcels, and they have a 5-foot separation between buildings, which was part of the PUD text for the zoning setbacks and things like that. So this has been done in practice, as well as being constructed to where they've come back and split lots in order to do that. And yeah, so it's basically a tandem combination of the conditions of the PUD, which will be heard concurrently with this plat next week at Planning Commission, as well as the text on the plat that kind of marry the 2 documents together to create the ability to do this.
Yes.
One more question. I mean, part of the lot split process is to make sure that they don't accidentally remove themselves from access to utilities or easement. Part of the lot split process is to make sure that the applicant doesn't accidentally remove themselves from existing utilities or easement. I apologize. I'm still kind of new, so has that been an issue, or is that addressed at all?
It hasn't. When you look, if we were to take an example on the screen here of just choosing any one of these lots here, say even on like West Crestline Court, it essentially would divide the property with a new line that runs north to south. So you'd have a dwelling on the east portion and a dwelling on the west portion, which would both have access to water in the right of way, as well as sewer from the easement in the rear.
Okay, thank you.
Rondi with Evergy. Just a note, we've had a lot of that going on where we design for a single family home, and then all of a sudden the builder, not the developer, sends in requests for service for a duplex. And so the thing that we need to make people understand is we need to make sure that the size of transformer and services out there will meet that requirement for a duplex, because it may not. I've had several where we went ahead and set the temporary meter, and then we have to go ahead and change out the transformer so that we can do that. And that's happened on 3 or 4 in the most recent, probably 6 months. So it is highly advantageous for the applicants to be sure and be in touch with the utilities so that we can all provide what they are needing.
And the underlying zoning of this right now is TF3, and the PUD essentially continues the 2-family residential zoning. They're just allowing for single dwellings closer to each other than a shared wall between them. And so, and mostly, I can't speak for all of them. Some of them went from single family residential to the PUD. In this particular case, the underlying zoning right now is 2-family residential. And so the platting of these lots is anticipating duplexes on this anyway. So you have 2 dwellings per lot, whether they're connected or not. So at least in this particular situation, it's good to know that for the future. And we'll keep that under consideration as if additional PUD type zonings come in, continuing this option.
Anything else? Agent, please.
Chris, excuse me, Chris Rose with Baughman Company, agent for the applicant. Just try to go over several of these comments and questions that have happened. Just to go back to this sketch here. This sketch here was approved back last year in May of 23. And then what we ended up doing is platting the north portion of it as Baughman 4th edition. And then we're now coming back and platting this area here as Baughman 5th. I should have included this with my plat submittal to make sure everybody can kind of see what we're trying to do here and try to help explain what's going on. And I'm going to just go back to the zone change that we did back last year for this piece of property, just to the TF3, the neighborhood to the north. There's a street here, Yosemite, that comes through here. They wanted to limit any kind of cut through traffic because they see a lot of problems with that. So that's kind of why we've done this double-headed cul-de-sac or back-to-back cul-de-sac, whatever you want to call it here, to limit any kind of cut through between here and Mays Road. They wanted us to prevent that as well in this south portion here. And as you can see on the sketch itself, by providing this fire apparatus access road, this reserve here, we have created that trying to eliminate that pass through or cut through traffic through there. But that also will provide a second point of access for fire. And once both sides of this is done, the remoteness part of the fire code should be eliminated because that distance between this opening here and then this opening over here to Yosemite would be more than what the remoteness part of the fire code has. Being that with this area here platting like we are, we needed to provide we felt like we needed to provide another point of access here, which was approved in this sketch down here at this location. The only difference is that cul-de-sac or that street kind of was longer than 150 feet, and I'm required to do a turnaround for anything longer than 150 feet. The other thing, as far as this little area here, we showed it as a reserve, and as far as the subdivision regulations goes, we can do contingent street dedications to unplatted pieces of property. We liked to put them in reserves, that way that, there's no issue with the homeowner that's adjacent to a contingent street doing something within that. At least this way, if it's in a reserve, the HOA has some control over that. As far as this street stub here, since we had to push these lots up a little bit because of some wetlands, this street got a lot longer, so then we had to do a cul-de-sac there. And it actually made more sense to do a paved road, but we also wanted to limit some sort of an access to these county people here. There's been some issues lately, I think, if you look at several examples around town, that the county will build something at the end of these and use these streets as their private drive. So all we ask for is we leave that in there. That Reserve E is contingent for a street dedication. The city of Wichita, if this continues as a plat, can activate that contingent street dedication, and they can build 10 feet of road. It's not 150 feet. It's a short distance, so it shouldn't be an expense, but it also prevents some, the person, whoever owns this, building a house or building a barn or splitting that off into 3 properties and doing a private drive there. There's a lot of situations that I have seen. If you go down to Derby, there's one case where Derby extended a street. The guy put a big barn in the back of it, built it into what the extension of the right-of-way would be. He uses it as his driveway, put a big gate on it. It's pretty nice, but you try to eliminate that. The purpose of the city of Wichita or city of Derby is to expand, and then if you limit that by building stuff on the end of these streets, Wichita's not going to expand. We've built a sewer main, or the city of Wichita has built a sewer main to serve this area. and we're gonna have to build a sewer coming down through here. This site will probably go in the city at some point, most likely, and, you know, they can connect to that property. As far as remoteness or the fire code on item H, I was under the impression that it was approved by the fire code official. I talked with O'Cades before the meeting, and I believe that it was approved just like similar cases have been over the past couple of years. If you guys remember, you know, there's Meese second edition was approved last year, maybe a year and a half ago. Courtyard at Jacobs Farm was approved. Last subdivision meeting, the Bridger and Pawnee had one that was very similar to what we're showing here on Reserve D. There's a plat, and I can't remember the name that Garver did at Webb and Pawnee, but they had something very similar to that as well. I will say on item A, we will continue to work with the city. They're requesting a 20-foot utility easement for Lot 6, Block A, and we'll work with them on that. We have some water and sewer, I think, on the same side, and we need to look at the distancing between that. If we maybe can reroute that, so that way maybe we can go down to a 15-foot easement there. Item J, which is the county request to remove item E down here, or Reserve E down here, we would be against that. We think that providing that little strip there with a contingent street dedication meets the subdivision regulations. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. Aldridge.
Yeah, Chris, what about D? Would that be the same as E as far as requesting a fire apparatus access?
Reserves D and E. I mean, we could provide a fire apparatus access road to E, that language in there, but it's a contingent street dedication, so if the city needed it for something, I mean, we can do that. If that helps, we could have both in there in case of an emergency or something to the south.
And I got a question regarding lot 48. Where's the access to the?
48 would be, you would have your units there and the driveway would come to the end of the or at the end of the street. So you would come in here like that. I assume that's 48, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we've been doing is we would do the unit here and then the driveway coming off the end of the street.
Okay.
Any other questions?
How long is that street that you're talking about right there?
Oh, that guy.
Because I know you said the one down at the bottom was over 150. It just looks pretty close. That's what I was wondering.
It looks like it's about 82 feet. But the problem sometimes, I think if you look at when we put the curve in there, it kind of lengthens the street a little bit. And that's when we get into a little bit of trouble. I think originally, I mean, that one, we moved up a little bit and changed from the sketch, looks like. So that would make that a lot longer. That one there is not. The one on where the Reserve D is, since it's going to connect into a future road, even though there's going to be a reserve through there, I still think that one's under 150 feet, or I would have had to put a temporary turnaround there.
I guess I got a question for the city fire. Is it approved or?
So I have not had an opportunity to review the revised sketch plat, and the revised sketch plat does not meet what's currently was submitted with that lot was just discussed on lot 48. So I would need an opportunity to review this rather than trying to come up with a solution right now.
Yes.
In light of and I apologize for coming late to the lot split issue, but since there would be no lot split cases. My concern is that if they do a lot split for lot 48 and we don't have a water line running east and west through that, I think I would like to request an additional 15-foot easement running east and west along 48 so that if it was to split, we wouldn't cut them off of access to water. Or, I mean, I would be open to any suggestions as well.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, we can extend easement all the way over to Mays Road on lot 48.
Yeah,
And actually, we probably should have. I should have seen that and done that.
and it doesn't have to run straight across, just as long as, you know, east
Yeah.
and west, it has access to water.
No, and we've done that, and yeah, I missed that one on that one. We've done that in the past where we've had these and we've extended the easement all the way over to Mays Road to make sure we can serve water on both sides of the units. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone present in the chamber to speak on this item? Anyone else want to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve per staff recommendations and comments and other comments that were made, and to also make sure that the agent works together with city fire to work out their concerns of those accesses.
Does that include the waivers? I think there were some in there.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Mr. Aldridge, second by Mr. Zimbelman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Pass 6-0. The next item is item number 10, subdivision 2024, 00022.
This is subdivision 2422, Schuman Oaks Edition. Just a second. Okay. This is a one-step final plat for a 6-lot residential subdivision located in the county, zoned RR Rural Residential. This is the aerial photography, the preliminary plat, and this is the final plat. Go through staff comments. Item A, sanitary sewer is unavailable to serve. MABCD requires test for on-site sewage. Soil work to be completed before approval. Memo is submitted. Item B, the site is located within Rural Water District Number 4, and if service is available, recommend connection. Item C, stormwater management advises the applicant needs to submit a drainage plan for review. Item D, complete access controls are indicated on the plat with 3 40-foot openings along West 47th Street South and 1 40-foot opening along South 295th Street. Sedgwick County Public Works states Lot 3 access opening does not meet Sedgwick County access policy and states that the northern access point on 295th Street needs to be located 660 feet south of the intersection of 47th Street. County Public Works also states that the complete access controls shown along 295th Street need to stop at the southern boundary of the plat. And they also advise that the road right-of-way width needs shown at the intersection of 295th Street and 47th Street at 75 feet. The County Public Works recommends the access control arrows at the intersection of 295th Street and 47th Street be shown 75 feet south of the north line of the northwest corner and 75 feet east of the west line of the northwest quarter, and dimensions changed accordingly. Public Works also states that the middle access point on 47th Street South needs to be labeled as a joint access easement. And also, Public Works advises access and utility easement shown on Lot 1 needs to be recorded prior to the plat with the recording data shown on the face of the plat. Item E, Public Works recommends existing power lines running north and south from 47th Street between lots 4 and 5 be located in private easement and separated from the joint access easement. And let's see. Item X, the subdivision is outside of Evergy territory and no transmission. And item Y, Sedgwick County Electric Co-op has reviewed the plat and will not need to request additional easements at this time. And I'll
Any
stand for
questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you. Advisory board members, any comments?
Daniel Strand with Sedgwick County Public Works. I've got a comment from our stormwater department. Sedgwick County Stormwater has not received a drainage plan at this time and recommend its deferral until a plan can be submitted and approved.
Kirk Sponson, Deputy County Councilor. As part of the subdivision regulations, Article 5, it is required that a drainage plan be submitted to the appropriate engineer prior to or at the time of submitting the final plat for subdivision committee review to include analysis directly affected properties. As such, it would be my recommendation that you treat this application as incomplete at this time and a deferral would be appropriate. Thank you.
Okay. Applicant or agent, I don't know. See what your comment is.
Bill Fox, Garber Surveying, representing the applicant. The drainage plan is in the works, just didn't get it done in time. So we're okay with deferring this plat until the next meeting.
Thank you. Anybody else present to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's pleasure, board?
Make a motion to defer for 2 weeks. Do you think that should be enough time?
3 weeks, isn't it?
3 weeks.
We get a days of vacation.
That's June 6th.
June 6th.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Blick, second by John Williams-Bay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? 6-0. Next
Board.
item.
Greg Sharon, planning staff, subdivision 2423, Dugan West Kellogg Commercial Edition. This is zoned LC Limited Commercial with a CUP DP number 320. This is the aerial photography. This is a one-step final plat for a 10-lot residential and a 1-lot commercial subdivision in the city associated with CUP DP 320. The waivers that will be needed, once again, access to unplatted property to the west is unplatted, so waiver will be needed to that because no connection is provided. I go through staff comments. Item A, Public Works requires water be extended from lots 2 and sanitary sewer be extended to lot 1 through 6, block A. PPS needs to be initiated before the easement for the existing sanitary sewer located in lot 1, block A can be vacated. Water transmission fees and existing specials will will be respread on a per square foot basis in absence of a respread agreement. Item D, stormwater management advises applicant needs to submit drainage plan for review. Item E, standard city fire comment regarding hydrant locations and building residence structures follow specifications for apparatus access roads. Item F, I did get a comment from traffic engineering that they have approved access engineering controls and openings. That is from city traffic engineering. The county public works requires a street stub connection to the west for Hickory Street Court. GIS still needs to approve of street names. Item J, standard environmental health comment regarding wells installed and permitted. And item X, Evergy has reviewed the plat and will need to request additional easements. They have been forwarded to the agent, and proposed street light placement needs to be approved by traffic engineering. And I'll stand for questions.
Any questions of staff? How about the advisory board members? Any comments?
Roddy with Evergy, no additional comment.
Joe Hickle, City Stormwater, item D, the drainage plan was submitted yesterday, so the review is pending. Hope to complete in time for next week's meeting.
Thank you. Applicant or agent?
Chris Rose with Baughman Company, agent for the applicant. The applicant agrees with staff comments except for the item G, where the county is requesting a stub street connection to the west there on Hickory Creek Court. I know that this time this property here is zoned SF20, but there has been recently a zone change submitted to make that commercial, and as part of the subdivision regulations, anything that is zoned commercial, we do not need to stub a residential street over to it. So we would like reserve G to be removed. As far as item M goes, with the restricted covenant with commercial use, we agree to that as long as it covers only those 11 lots, or no, sorry, those 10 lots in Hickory Creek Court, because the rest of it is actually a zoned or a commercial lot. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions. The applicant agrees with the rest of the comments, sorry.
Any questions of the agent? Mr. Blick?
Did you say it's RE zone commercial or it's proposed to be?
Well, this whole thing, and it's another one where, do they have an overall? Yeah, okay. So this was part of an overall CUP years ago that was all commercial. And then what we did is we modified it for residential use. And then we've replatted, and actually we've created a PUD for this portion here. And this is still, I believe, under the CUP. But if you could see here, if I remember correctly, the county at the time knew that this would probably all be commercial, and so it didn't require us to do any kind of street stub there. Same thing here, they've filed a zone change to make this LC. So it's commercially zoned, but for residential uses as well, if that makes sense.
So what happens if they decide to make this residential like they do the one before, and now we don't have a street stub and we have a fire issue or apparatus and all that? I mean, I'm just speculating, but that's also what we're looking at, is we're seeing this was commercial and now it's turning into all residential in that area. All right.
There's no guarantee on any kind of commercial that it wouldn't go residential, but I don't see.
I just see the trend that I'm seeing right now, that it was commercial and now it's all going residential, so. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of the agent?
Chris, do you know off the top of your head how much of that parcel to the west is being rezoned?
Well, right now, because of trying to waive the requirement for screening, I believe, that we have filed a 50-foot easement across, or a 50-foot zone change right here. And then the rest, the landowner was supposed to be doing at the future date. Do not know when.
Any other questions of the agent? Thank you. Anyone else present that can speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to commission. What's the pleasure of the board?
I have a good question for Fire. Fire, how do you feel about this if we don't put a sub-street on there?
Really don't have a comment on that to see exactly what occurs to the west of that. It's just a cul-de-sac residential. If depending on the design of the west side plat as residential, that would have a factor on having a second access point. But from what is submitted, the cul-de-sac itself, it meets current code.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve for staff recommendations and comments, including the elimination of item G, and that would also include the required modification and waivers.
Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes 6-0. Anything else to come before us? I want to thank staff and advisory board members are getting this put together since we had a glitch in the system, and you guys did a good job.
Thank you, sir. To that, I would just point out that for those who send us emails, we only got access to email about 2 days ago. We still do not have access to GIS, so there's some technicalities that are still happening.
We're adjourned.